It's North America's largest reptile and an apex predator of the South. It's the American alligator. This crocodilian's range stretches throughout the southeast United States, 2 million of which can be found in the Florida state alone. And there is no shortage of them within Florida's zoos and wildlife parks. Wherever you may go, you're going to find gators. Alligators are sometimes mistaken for crocodiles, given their similar appearances. Not to mention, Florida is the only place where crocodiles and alligators coexist, mostly in the Everglades. But there are also many differences that make gators stand out from crocs. Let's focus on what makes an alligator an alligator. First, there's the size. Alligators are smaller than most crocodiles, usually reaching lengths of 10 to 12 feet and weigh up to 500 pounds. Still a pretty big reptile though. Then there's the color. Adult alligators usually come in a mixture of grays, blues, and sometimes near black. This helps them to blend in with the muddy waters of marshes, swamps, and rivers. However, on rare occasions, some alligators are born mostly or fully white because of one of two genetic mutations: albinism, which lacks pigmentation and gives alligators pink eyes, or leucism, where they have blue eyes and still carry some pigmentation. An alligator's eyes sits on top of its head, like a frog, allowing it to see better above the water while the rest of its body stays submerged, making it perfect for ambush hunting. They don't creep up on their prey like crocodiles do. Instead, alligators will remain perfectly still and wait for food to come close enough to striking distance. I know I've been told never to smile at a crocodile, but what does that mean for an alligator? Sure, an alligator's smile isn't as toothy as a croc's. Their upper jaw is wide and U-shaped, forming an overbite that covers most of the bottom teeth from view. However, this also gives them one of the strongest bites in the animal kingdom. With one snap, an American alligator can deliver a smashing 2,000 pounds of pressure, which can crush a turtle's shell and snag animals the size of hogs and deer. Alligators tend to live more inland, in freshwater habitats with little to no salt. Because of this, they can move over land much better if they ever need to move from one water source to the next, especially during the dry seasons when water levels are low. However, alligators have another method of surviving droughts without having to travel over land as much. Plus, it's a benefit for the ecosystem they live in. When feeling the levels of water dropping, alligators will begin digging out trenches that will contain any remaining source of water that doesn't drain out. This will not only keep the alligators from overheating, but it also helps to bring in thirsty animals that need a drink, making it easier for alligators to get a good-sized meal. And because of their cold-blooded metabolism, these reptiles can go for months without eating. Even though they have a bit of a fierce reputation, alligators do have a softer side. For one thing, they're very devoted mothers. After breeding, female alligators will build a nest out of leaves, dirt, and rotting plant material. During the next 2 months of the egg's incubation period, the mother alligator will stay close to the nest, even if it means going without eating the whole time. Even after the eggs hatch, Mom will raise her hatchlings for a further 2 years. By that point, the young alligators will grow big enough to fend for themselves, and will leave their mom's side. Especially if she gets hungry. There is no question that alligators are very abundant nowadays. But what most people don't know is that these reptiles are a conservation success story. In fact, American alligators were at one point on the brink of extinction. From the 1920s to the 70s, alligators were being hunted for their meat to be cooked and eaten, as well as their hides to create the trending styled boots, wallets, purses, and belts at the time. In Florida alone, approximately 200,000 alligators were killed yearly in the 1920s. And by the 1950s, only around 100,000 alligators remained throughout 10 states. It was around that time when the surviving alligator populations were placed under protection by state in the mid-20th century, with Florida joining in 1961 and then outlawing gator hunting the following year. It wasn't until 1967 when the alligator was finally placed on the nation's federal endangered species list. Places like Gatorland played a vital role in reversing the decline of the American alligator by releasing large female alligators in protected areas. That way, the number of wild alligators could grow much faster than in areas close to people. Eventually, in 1987, the American alligator was taken off the endangered species list due to their successful recovery in the wild. Now, with approximately 5 million individuals living in the Southeast, But as their numbers grow, so does the number of people moving closer to their wetland homes. Going back to Gatorland, they continue to help alligators by giving permanent homes to the ones made to be put down for causing problems, and to educate the public on how to coexist with these amazing reptiles. American alligators have been around for centuries, and were at one point on the brink of extinction like the dinosaurs. But they have bounced back from the brink. And best of all, for those of us living in the Sunshine State, they're our reptilian neighbors. Whether you love them or fear them, alligators deserve all the respect we can give them. So remember, keep your wild hearts alive, and I will see you all next time on WMF's Animal Spotlight.